Something special is happening on the Wellesley College campus. There's a large effort led by Christine Cruz-Vergara to reimagine career services. I sat down with her to unpack what is it like to lead a massive change? What is it like to think about new staff competencies needed? And how do we integrate into the campus ecosystem to do something radically different, something innovative, something extraordinary, something uniquely helpful? So you've been at Wellesley a year now.
Yeah.
And how's that been?
Intense and crazy this first year.
Lot's happened this first year.
A lot has happened.
Let's talk about leading a reimagine effort.
Okay.
And your MO is kind of growth and change.
Mm-hmm.
What did you see in Wellesley that you knew you could come in and lead growth and change?
You know, I think for Wellesley, they were ready for career education to not be a peripheral office, to not be a peripheral experience, but rather have it fully integrated into what every single student would remember as part of Wellesley. And for me, one of the biggest signifying decisions that they made when they posted the position was they decided to move the office into the president's cabinet. And for me, that spoke volumes.
And then you insert that with the ways that you've dreamed about changing career services.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your big dream for Wellesley? Now that you know that they're behind the big dream, what's yours?
Yeah, absolutely. So we talk a lot about creating a new model of career education for Wellesley that's focused, as you know, based on the work that I've done with Farouk, around connections and communities. But for us, it's beyond that. We really want to take it to the next level and specifically design a career education model for women. And what I mean by that is after we lay the foundation this first year or two, I really want us to start looking at the research that exists and potentially new research around how women and men develop differently and looking at how that should inform the practices that we engage in, that we implement in our work.
There's a lot behind something like that.
Yeah.
Just the first two words you used, connections and community.
Absolutely.
That's a different model than the last 20 years of career services.
Mm-hmm.
So give us a sense of what's behind something like that.
For our institution, for our alumni, for our students, the Wellesley Network is the most powerful women's network in the world. And we're so proud of that. And there's so much strength in coming together to be able to support each other. And so we really want to engage every single entity, whether it's students, faculty, campus partners, alumni, employers, in thinking through how we can not only support each other in education, each other in facilitating connections and introductions, in thinking about opportunities that exist, right? But that requires us to really build relationships, not just transactional events or situations where we might come together, but how we can really build meaningful relationships and get to know each other as people.
Your role's been elevated to a cabinet level position.
Mm-hmm.
What's the strength in having more connection to the cabinet, reporting to the president, being really connected to the provost? And how do you work with those higher level positions? Not a lot of career centers get the opportunity to spend a good amount of time with the cabinet or the president. Maybe it's 1 to 2 interactions a year sometimes.
Yeah.
And so how has that been different? And how has that helped this?
One of the ways in which it's been most different is the sheer level of autonomy that I have to be able to really dream and shape and then move it forward, right? The president is a busy woman.
Yeah.
She has a lot on her plate. And for me, my president is one of our biggest champions. Paula Johnson just started this past July. And needless to say, any president in her first year has a ton of things on her agenda that she needs to make sure she's touching. And so even as a huge champion, I have a huge amount of flexibility to be able to work collaboratively with all of my various peers and division heads to figure out how are we actually going to implement this. We know what we need to get done. We want this to be a great experience for our students and our alumni. So let's just do it. It's wonderful to be able to do that. And I think the other benefit of being part of the cabinet is actually having the chance to be part of conversations that are happening across the entire institution and looking at how that trickles down and has impact and influence on all the different areas.
And change, it's often said that at universities, change is extremely slow.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people that don't care for change that much.
Mm-hmm.
What have you understood to be some of the barriers people have to change, but then some of the quick wins or ways that people just adapt pretty smoothly to change?
Yeah. So I think one of the barriers to change is feeling comfortable. I think we all want to feel comfortable. We like being in our comfort zone. And that often can be a barrier or a hindrance to really changing something, right? When you feel comfortable, because why would you want to feel uncomfortable, right? I mean, it's normal,
Absolutely.
It's natural. So in my opinion, when you're leading change or you're going through a change process, I always believe that you should feel slightly uncomfortable, right? Like just a notch above the norm of where you normally sit. And that gives you a good indication that you're probably moving at just the right pace to actually build momentum. And what's really amazing about that is once you actually build momentum and you get a few small wins, it fires up your constituencies, right? Your stakeholders are now like, wow, something's happening. Your staff suddenly feel like all the work that they've put into it is now reaping rewards, right? And it fires people to keep going and to keep moving forward. So I think that the pace of change is actually one of the most crucial elements of leading change. And you want to be just slightly uncomfortable in moving it forward.
So you have this envelope of support around you.
Yep.
But not everybody supports a new big vision. There's always detractors. How do you deal with detractors? How do you deal with those that aren't totally sold on the vision or giving you a little bit harder pushback? And what advice for other career-centered leaders would you have for handling people that aren't as supportive?
But I think first you just have to listen, and then you actually have to care, and you have to look for some common ground, and then you have to be the one to make the connections. I think a lot of times when people find a detractor or detractors, they often want to shy away from having conversations with those individuals rather than really engaging them in a conversation, right? I think we're seeing that all around us. And I think instead of doing that, it is really critical for us to reach out and to say, I want to understand, but you have to genuinely actually want to listen and understand. And you have to be willing, you have to force your own mindset to be willing to possibly be proven wrong or to change your thinking around it, because it's not about you personally, it's about your idea.
Can you think of a moment over this last year where you felt like this is really happening? Like there was just this big bright spot where it helped you gain momentum and you were excited.
The moment where it really felt like it was happening was this summer when we engaged in all of our searches. So in this first year, I've hired 19 people, and the majority of them came in the summer where we hired 14. And as we were going through week after week after week of searches and interviews, we decided to do our interviews for our Career Connections and Communities team a little bit different than how we've done traditional searches. So for our second team, every single person, including the director that was leading that team, was brand new. Every single person. And that was going to be one of our largest teams with 10 people. And I was concerned that we weren't going to be able to get a sense of whether or not people would gel or actually fit the team, because I don't have a team for them to fit into at the moment, right?
Yeah.
So we decided to do group interviews and bring people on in groups. And so over the course of 3 days, we interviewed 18 people. And I think it was at the end of those 3 days where we brought those 18 people on to interview that it felt like, wow, we're really going to make this happen.
And so if you had to pick one tool to put in people's toolbox about change, what would it be? One piece of advice you'd have for other people who are saying, I'm about to embark on change.
I think you have to see it as an opportunity. I think instead of getting overwhelmed by the vastness of what could be, or by the grandeur of the ask, perhaps by your senior admin or your VP or president, instead of getting bogged down in what exactly are we going to do, it's first and foremost actually seeing it as an opportunity to build something great.
And what are some of the things that you've done to be radically focused on the user instead of on your own processes, for say?
Yeah, absolutely. So we wiped clean every single process and procedure that we had ever done. And yeah, and intense for my staff. So as we brought on all of our new people, their charge was to figure out what the new process or procedures or experience would look like for our students. And that's no easy task for somebody that's coming in brand new, trying to learn the institution, and at the same time trying to learn their job and build all of this. So I'm incredibly proud of my staff.
So it seems important in leading a Reimagine effort to change the narrative, or to use fresh words to capture the essence of things. And you mentioned one. You said you want students to have a personal advisory board. That's new to me. That's, I think, new to a lot of people. Can you explain that a little bit? What's behind that?
Sure, definitely. So one of the things that we discovered while I was on my listening tour and talking to students at Wellesley was that, unlike a lot of other places I've worked, our students at 17, 18 years old already understood the importance of the Wellesley network. Many of them found that to be a very compelling reason for wanting to choose Wellesley as an institution. And they understood coming in the power of mentorship, and they wanted a mentor, which I think is pretty incredible to fully grasp and grasp that concept at 18 years old. But that's something that I think is very special about our population. However, the one misperception that they still carried with them is that they have to find their one perfect mentor. And so we're constantly telling them, you're not looking for your life partner, you're looking for mentors and a board of advisors. So this concept of a personal advisory board is to help them understand and shift their mindset around not looking for one perfect person that can answer all their questions about everything they might want to know about, but to help them understand that over the course of your life, you are actually going to pick up different people that have different expertise, that have different specialty, and that you will connect to in different ways that will help guide you and provide you with advice.
How do you stay sane?
I don't know that I am. So, you mean, what do I do outside of work?
Yes, you have a life outside of work, I assume. I
do. Gosh, what do I do? I watch a lot of TV. I really do. I binge watch TV almost every night. 2-3 episodes of something. I love to eat, so I love spending time with friends and family, going out to good restaurants and doing that. I have a 4-year-old, so he keeps me really busy. And honestly, I have an amazing partner that's able to really carry a lot of weight in our home and family relationship, which does afford me the flexibility to be able to focus as much as I do on work, on travel, and on the really exciting things that give me a lot of energy and I think make me a better person, mom, wife, friend, all of those things.
What have been Christine's lessons? What are some of the things that you're reflecting on saying, I've learned this over the last year?
The first one is repetition builds reputation. And what I mean by that is it is not the big, massive change that you lead or enable that defines who you are as a person, but rather your everyday actions. I think the second for me is, people are your most important asset. They're your most important resource. Your work is only as good as your team. And so therefore it leads to my third lesson, which is therefore hiring is one of the most important decisions you'll make as a leader. How do you hire for character and integrity? You can train a lot in terms of skills, but how do you really hire for attitude and train for skills later? My fourth lesson is I'm constantly striving to respond, not react. And that was actually one of the best pieces of advice that I heard as a young professional at a conference a long time ago, but was this distinction between reacting versus responding. And especially when you're leading change, there are going to be so many hurdles. There are going to be so many times where you feel lonely and it's difficult and it sucks and it's challenging and you're not really sure how you're going to get through it. And there are going to be people that will put up roadblocks that could be difficult, that could be your detractors like we just talked about. And it's critical that in those moments you don't just react, but that you take the time to actually think about it and to take a step back and respond. So that's been really key for me. And then I think the last piece is authenticity is the best strategy. And that's been something that over the course of my career, I continue to, I don't even know what the word is, but I guess grow in comfort in my own authenticity. I recognize that I am a young woman of color in a field and in a position where I am regularly put in meetings with people that don't look like me, with people that have 20 plus years of experience over me, and that might not find me to be particularly credible initially based on what I look like or what I bring to the table. And they might have expectations about how an associate provost should act or be, or things like that. But I think I have learned over time, and again reinforced at Wellesley, that me being true to who I am and being authentic in my leadership has served me best. And it's what's allowed me to gain the level of buy-in I've gotten on the vision. For me, being real, I am extremely open. I am very transparent with my team. I continue to be that way because I have discovered that for me, it fosters trust and it builds loyalty. And that's what works.
This has been truly fantastic, Christine. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me. I'm so honored.